Yo, what's good? Welcome to Observing the Process. Before we start, I'm hoping you can help me out by supporting the show. You can rate and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, or discuss it on your own podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel and like this video, or you can support it directly. You can do this by going to my website. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. Today on the show, I had Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha is a musician from Guizhou and the first ever Chinese artist to be selected for the annual Red Bull Music Academy. We talked about her first impressions of music, the evolution of her career, and what it means to be original. Please give it up for Cha-Cha.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
3, 2, 1. Okay, we're live. Cha-Cha, how are you doing? Thanks for coming over.
I'm good. Thank you, Alex, for having me here.
Yeah. You highly requested among a lot of my friends, specifically Benoit and Charlie. So it's nice to have you on.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you just got done, or you're in the middle of tour, right?
Yeah, I just finished a Japan and a US part. So the rest of part from December to January, Chinese New Year, gonna be China part.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
How was it in Japan for that trip? Like, what was that like?
The whole tour, the main reason to organize the tour is not really for like to get audience or for a show for making money. It's just like few of our very close friends want to have some good time together. So we basically puzzle the days and try to go like, especially like Japan part was like our vacation slash like show time. So, yeah.
A little bit of work and play.
Yeah.
So what's it like setting up a tour? Is it difficult to get in touch with venues, or is that like a important part of the process to you?
Actually, no. It's all about like the date organized, the schedule puzzle part. It's actually been many years working on that independently is not the most difficult part for sure. And especially in the scene for long enough, like, people who knows the venue. So it's only about just like ask friends and organize things. Just be like mindly organized. So,
Right. Yeah. I can only imagine what it feels like to go on tour and have people pay to see your show. Like for me, that would be such an amazing experience. I don't know. I guess you've been doing this for a while. So does it change over time? Does it become like a little less exciting, or is it still very exciting to meet up with your friends and, kind of have this experience?
From 2008 till 2015, I had the plan is I tour every November, every year.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I did that actually. Then till 2015, I get really exhausted. The touring is very tiring. Then at the same time, I have a lot of work to do. And I was constantly drinking. That is not, obviously, it's not good for your health.
Yeah,
and,
what's crazy is I heard this episode with, it was Joe Rogan and, there's a guy, Steve Aoki. I don't know if you know the DJ artist, Steve Aoki. And anyways, he tours like almost every single day, 365 days a year.
Crazy.
Or maybe even like he has a residency in Los Angeles. So I can just, you have to kind of take into account like the physical and mental strain that touring can have.
Yeah. I mean, like you take a lot of preparation, like the show part, okay? The show self, like you need to arrange the certain music, prepare for different type of venue, and you have to prepare the gear wise because all the like club or live house have different condition. You need to somehow to get ready. And also just, for me, the most exciting part is to meet the new city, the new crowd, like for each year. I have some few main cities I go every year, but the most of the time I just go to see different cities and meet different crowd. I think one thing is give me a very fresh feeling. Another thing is kind of like new challenge, so can keep me can push me keep doing this.
Right.
But till 2015, I think I will keep doing that for about 7 years. I was really tiring. And also I feel like it's about time I try something new, or I have to save some time for myself to have some input.
Right.
You know, every year you keep like working really hard for half a year, making music release, and you have a year doing shows. Like you keep going out, a lot of things coming out from you. You don't really have time to chill, to process and to digest everything like happening around you. You know, read a book or just like doing nothing.
Yeah,
you know,
just kind of chill out, recharge the batteries.
Yeah, so I do feel after that I need a bit time to.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's interesting. You said you have this pattern of once a year in November you'll start to go on tour, and while like on a business plan or it makes a lot of sense on paper, and then I guess if you get around like year after year, maybe you change as a person, so it doesn't become as easy to just like be a computer and pump out like content. Like you're an artist, I think, and I think a lot of people any artist could relate. Like if you're forced to just do something year after year, you're eventually like, maybe your rhythm will maybe you will end up putting out so much music one year, but then the next, and like it's enough for two years worth of music. But yeah, I think that's interesting to look at it from that perspective. Yeah.
And also I don't like to just copying things, I like touring, I like meeting people, but if it turns into something the same, something that you already know what's gonna happen, then I don't want to continue doing that. It's the same like on the music producing part. I can do a certain type of music really well, but if you want me to continue doing that because people like it and I get bored, I might just not doing it. So I just like, sometimes I think that's really important for artists, that you're telling yourself to stop in a certain moment, to think about it, to like, what's the point to continue doing that because of this something, to keep pushing you, it can't stop, or it must be a reason.
Like you need time to reflect. Yeah. So when you're touring, you mentioned you have favorite places that you like to go. What are some of your favorite cities that you have toured?
Actually, all my favorite cities quite small cities. It's not like typical like Guangzhou, Shanghai, Beijing or something. Actually, I feel like small cities like Luoyang, a lot of people don't even having show in Luoyang. That's why I like...
Luoyang is near Henan.
Henan, yeah.
I've been to Luoyang. Very, very small city, yeah.
I had all my best shows there.
Wow.
It's really amazing, because I do feel like bigger cities audience got spoiled. You know what I mean? So many things happening.
Because they have international acts. And so maybe they're not so grateful when people are coming through.
Exactly. Then it's not only about like your music good or not. They just like... it's so many things happening around their life, then it's distracted. Like that it's hard to focus, or they think they know a lot. It's hard to feel like the soul to soul connection. But in a smaller city, like, because not many things happening there, they really they desire something cool and something they can connect with. So when I set a show there, you can tell everybody, you can see the audience, the eyes, like, or the eyes connecting with you. They're in there, that's something, that's the reason I want to do a live show. I want to have the connection between me and the audience. I want everybody in there with the music, but it's sometimes just hard, and people there not really come for the show. But I can't blame on that, but just like smaller cities, like they know why there. Right.
It sounds like you really value the connection that you have between yourself and the audience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then in a spot like Luoyang, they don't have so many people coming through. And, if they, and maybe, they have to spend money to go to a show like this. They have they have options, even though it's a small city. That's another thing that I think could be interesting to talk about is, so to a foreigner, they might look at China as just China. They won't really understand like that there are major differences between cities like Beijing or Shanghai and then even like Luoyang, which is a city that they've never heard of. So I mean, besides the difference that you just explained, like you might have a better connection with people at these smaller cities. Do you find any other differences between traveling, or like some noticeable differences between cities like Shanghai or Beijing or Guangzhou?
I mean, it's really hard to see until the moment you're there. I think city mainly all the same. How you feel the different because of the people who live in the city. That's make you feel different. Even for me, I travel a lot. That's how I feel. I will sometimes have a high expectation to New York or to Paris or to that big city, famous city like Tokyo. But when you just a tourist, you got there with not really personal connecting. The city is just city itself.
Sure.
It don't really speak to you.
Yeah. So the people is what makes
It's the people makes the difference.
Okay.
So that's how I feel like. Especially like in China, all the cities growing really fast.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
A lot of cities becoming to very similar. Especially when I on tour, sometimes I'm really confused because you finish your show really late, you set up really early, you have a speed train travel from one to another, then you feel like I've been here before, like I was here yesterday. Sometimes,
Yeah, it's funny. Even in Shanghai, I'll feel that like if you leave the outer rings and you can kind of just go to even like Minhang or areas where they're developing. I used to go out and explore and just fly my drone. And I took one photo, and the first thing that came to mind was the title of the photo would be called Copy and Paste, because it just looks like these buildings are just like copy and pasted. It's really, it almost looks like Photoshop. They're all just like so identical, gray, and kind of simple and boring. And that's how I can kind of, I get what you're saying now is like the cities might feel copy and pasted, and that's just an external thing. But when you go in there and meet the people, that you have to really experience it and meet them to understand the differences and culture.
I think that's why like you, for example, you like street culture. Your Instagram account is like presenting that kind of very different way, what that was true or also a real people living that kind of moment, right? That's the thing actually I like. The city growing bigger and bigger is all just about how to say modelized, right? It's getting clean, getting organized, and you lose the wild part. But for me, the city or the something alive come from the chaos, sometimes from the mess,
Definitely,
the mess.
Yeah.
That's what I like. I was talking with my friend on the plane back from Chicago, saying like, we travel many places where the most place you like. I mean, for me, the east, the southern part of Asia, the Vietnam, the Thailand, Cambodia, that kind of place, like still messy and chaos. I still love that kind of wild, original feelings more than the cities, like super cities like New York or Shanghai.
Yeah. For me, it's cool you mentioned my Instagram, because I mean today it's a little different than what it started out as. Like it started out as a daily photo project. So my goal was just to take one photo a day and post it, because I felt like I was seeing so many cool things, and I just kind of wanted to practice street photography. So there's this dude, Ed Templeton, in Huntington Beach, California, and he has this thing called it's hashtag daily HB peer photo. So he just goes there and takes a photo every single day. And it's like, for him, it's a challenge because it's just one very small pier. Like it's like just about the people at that point, because like the surroundings are going to be the same every single day. So it's about focusing on the people, I guess, and getting interesting shots. And for me, I wanted to replicate that project for like daily Shanghai photo. And it started out like I'm just taking photos of people and what I find interesting, which I think people would also back from America find interesting. And then it evolved into like people gravitated liking, the strange and absurd things that can kind of happen in Shanghai.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One other question that I wanted to ask you while you were explaining your travels is meeting people. So would you consider yourself more of a introvert or an extrovert? And an introvert is like do you know introvert and extrovert? Okay, so introvert means like you like to kind of be by yourself. You kind of don't necessarily enjoy being sociable. I think like very social, like the life of the party kind of. And an extrovert is the life of a party.
Right.
The type of person that likes to go out and introduce themselves. And I mean, I asked that because the vibe of you as a person, like a little soft spoken and keeps to herself a little bit, that would maybe be an introvert. But you like to be on stage and you do. So like, it's an interesting kind of contradiction.
Yeah. I think that's why I like to meeting people, because we're human being, very complex, complicated. That's the interesting part. You never have just one side.
Right.
You have mixed side that make you become a very unique you. So I mean, like for example, me, when I was younger, I'm definitely like very out, like inside out person. I'm talking to people. I like to go out. And when I growing older, I start to feel like all my energy come from when I'm alone. And not from the social part. Actually, social part is taking out of my energy. So I can go. I'm not social awkward. I can go talk to people, and a business meeting. But the most comfortable moment was by myself. So I can do that because of the work. What I do is make me have to stand on the stage, take all the focus. Then it's somehow. People feel like this is a natural part, but for me, I need some like the build up, before get on stage. I have to telling myself, okay, right. So
like
get
pumped
ready.
Up, like,
yes,
get
I
like
have
in
to.
the proper mindset, because I imagine it's kind of nerve wracking. It's like scary in a sense to go on stage sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter now. It's like I've been doing the show thing for over 15 years. It still doesn't matter bigger or smaller show. I still nervous. I think the most thing because I care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter bigger show, smaller show, even a 10,500 people or it's 5,000 people. I care. So, I don't want to fucked up. So I need to be focused.
It's your name on the bill. Like it's your name, which is so important. Like your name is so valuable. Like you don't want to tarnish it. You want to take care of get respect from other people. So I could understand getting nervous.
It's actually not even about the name. Is just about I care what I do. I want to present it in the right way, and I want to present on stage, make people feel I prepared for it. I respect them to spend time there to enjoy what I do. So I'm not gonna just like fuck around on stage. It's like guess what? I'm not really like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's take it back to the early days. So can you tell people where you're from?
I'm from southwest part of China called Guizhou province. So when people don't know where Guizhou is, you might know Yunnan, you might know Sichuan. It's just a mountain area between those places.
Okay. Right. I've heard amazing things actually about Yunnan and that area. It's kind of like a very naturally beautiful place. And also they kind of retain a lot of the culture that people know China for.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I think it's just it's not only about Yunnan. Yunnan people will know is because advertised as a touristy area, and the weather and everything mixed with a minority, easy to promote. So a lot more people know that. But actually, like Sichuan and Guizhou, Yunnan, we call the a 3 province in the southwest of China is all actually in that kind of similar vibe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of compare our childhoods a little bit.
Right.
Like, I'm some dude from Long Island, and we could talk about, like, for me, growing up elementary school, middle school, for example, like we went on vacations, like to go skiing and stuff like that. What was childhood like for you? Maybe even just like start with, like, did you guys go on vacations? What was life like as a child in Guizhou?
I have no clue about vacation till like very late 20s,
Right.
like It's really different because my family all from north part of China. Because of the government project, they send them to south part of China. So they were working in the south, but I was born in there. But all my families are from north. So I was in a small factory because in the middle of nowhere in the mountain village.
Wow.
Then basically is my father and my grandfather's generations built the village. When they got there, although without them, there's nothing over there. Guizhou is still the poorest province in the whole country. So during that moment, it's nothing really going on. So I born in a very small room in I can't even call a hospital. Don't even have the hospital in the factory. I born in a small room in there, then grow up in there till I was like 11. So then moved to a bigger city next to the village.
Okay.
So, but I think that 11 years, maybe not 11 if I can remember for about.
Right. You only remember like
years.
the second half
maybe.
Yeah.
But I think the most beautiful and happy time in my childhood was in there.
And so this is a village near Guizhou or?
In Guizhou.
Okay.
In Guizhou, but it's really just middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody live. It's the factory area, the people, all the neighborhood is the people who work in the factory, all the workers. Then they build a school for their workers' kids.
Do you know what kind of factory it was?
It's actually a building for the satellites and the radar stuff. The small pieces for that.
I really like how you said that might have been some of your happiest memories.
Yeah, it is.
And it makes me feel kind of stupid. Like I opened up like, oh, I go on vacation skiing. And that's not what I meant to talk about. It's like, it's just like such different worlds. And I think happiness will be relative based on like what you know and what is around you. So like for you, what did it mean to be happy as a kid?
I mean, when you're a kid, you're just naturally happy. Kids are easy to please,
Right.
I think, especially in that moment. You're out of the city. You're surrounded by nature, mountains.
Right.
That's the most happy things for kids. I think that for me, now, if I gonna have a kid, I want a kids grow up in a nature place, with mountains, waters. You can go discover by yourself, just get wild. I think maybe that. I think when I moved to city, when I was like grade 4, like 11 or 12 or something, I start to feel uncomfortable, to try to learn the rules of living in the city because I was growing wild.
I completely connect with what you're saying. Recently, for the past year, I think I've been struggling with happiness and trying to define what it means to me. And often money might mean happiness to me, but I'm really trying to realize that that's just not true. Money doesn't equal happiness. And I saw this video on YouTube that kind of helped explain. It's like, it's kind of, if you're given like a full pizza, that first slice is going to be amazing. Like that one slice of pizza is delicious and amazing. But then the second you have, it gets like a little less amazing because, you already had the first one. And then the third one is not so great because you're already pretty much full. And then by the fourth, fifth, and sixth slice, it's like, you don't even care about it. So that's kind of like a metaphor for money. Is like, you can just have a ton of it, but in the end, you should be happy with the amount that you started with or a smaller amount. So when you're saying like nature and, a peaceful, like a simpler lifestyle is what makes you happy, I fully back that mentality because once you're exposed to the city that you find, you're kind of able to see maybe what else is out there. And that can be uncomfortable to want something that you can't have. And anyways, I think what's helping me be happier these days is really being happy with what I have now instead of what I want. And it's always great to strive for something you want, but if you're able to be happy with what you have, then that's the best thing you can do.
Exactly, like you said, like one piece of pizza, then you want a second one, then the third one, fourth one, then it tastes not like how you expected.
Right.
But the problem is we forgot we already have that one piece of a pizza. Then it's actually enough for you. I think that all the struggle and the pain a lot of time come from the greedy mindset. You think it's not enough, or you compare yourself to someone else, or you force yourself to believe in the kind of value system that the whole society is selling to you. You know,
Right.
I think it's not easy because you need to be very strong inside of you to understanding and believing what you like and what you truly aim for.
Yeah.
Then it's really easy to go pushed by the people surround you and all the messages, information surround you. But that's what I mean. Like after a certain time, I have to tell myself to stop, to think about it,
Right.
because think about why you're doing that from very beginning. The first step to remind you the kind of very simple happiness,
Yeah.
the very simple idea behind it. Then just have to keep the balance. Right?
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of famous people, sometimes they tend to have mental breakdowns in the height of their fame. So like I think it's important as a person to have some values, like know who you are and what you like. So then eventually later in life, like you can stick to those core values, whether you're poor or you're rich, like you're kind of going to be okay. And I think sometimes a lot of famous people, they'll become famous when they haven't developed what their values are as a person, and kind of they'll be distracted by all these people coming at them with money and products and brands, like want to take advantage, and they'll go crazy because they'll have all the money in the world, but they don't even know who they are as a person.
Exactly. So that's sometimes I think about that because this is struggle. You're doing music and show business, but you're not like a famous. Then, but everything you desire, everything you want to get, it costs price. Okay, you need to give out something to exchange. Nothing come for free. Nothing come from nowhere. So you have to balance. You have to know that kind of fame, that kind of money, that kind of position cost a lot of self time, freedom mind, and how to say selfish decisions. Right? I don't know.
You can make poor decisions if you're not thinking like with a clear mind.
Because if you in that position making that amount of money, surrounded by those many people, then you're not just yourself. You're not only you. You're not making decision only for yourself. So you have to decide: is that you really want, or you want to be a totally? There's no totally completely like free, but compared to that, still be a free mind person and have a choice, have a how to say options in your life in a certain time or way. You can still say stop, I don't want this. Okay, but sometimes it's hard because you got pushed by things.
Yeah, I think totally. It's for me, it's about deciding who you are as a person, or it's not about deciding, it's about learning who you are as a person. And I think, yeah, that's crazy. It's like you can't decide who you are as a person. You have to accept who you are as a person and be comfortable and kind of love yourself. I think that's super important to find that out.
And it's hard too.
It's terribly hard because there's so many social pressures around you to tell you what you should be. And it's all just like to try and sell you something, I think. And I think that's such a difficult thing to grow up. And like with like all this, social media and pressure from peers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. Yeah. Getting back a little bit to growing up in Guizhou, I think a lot of foreigners have like a stereotypical view of what it means to be Chinese, or like, a ton of pressure from your parents to try and get into the best school possible. I think these are a lot of stereotypical views that foreigners might have. What would you say to people that have these views of Chinese people or kids, and maybe talk a little bit more about your experience growing up in Guizhou?
I definitely have very typical parents, traditional Chinese parents. They never had opened up Western influences in their life, but still, I think they're cool.
That's great.
My dad's. I I remember when I was really young, my dad was like wearing that kind of silver shining jeans, you know, in that typical 70s, that kind of style, you know.
Sounds like Eddie Murphy, comedian.
Yeah,
on
so
stage.
exactly, like I think he's in his generation when he was young, he's definitely the cool guy, you know. That he likes music, he likes hi-fi, you know. He was a handmade a set of hi-fi sound system by himself. He liked motorbikes, you know. Just like in that kind of situation, he's trying himself the best to create a certain cool lifestyle. So I think he understands what young people likes, but still as a father, or as my mother, she's a romantic woman. Then she wants we all know the China living systems are quite different, right? So you have to follow certain rules. Then everybody wants to their kids in the safe system, right? You grow up in a certain way, go to certain school, graduate, work in a certain company, then make certain money, buy a house, get married. It's just like a regular thing, be a regular person.
Right. So you're saying that there's like a certain path that you're expected to follow.
Yeah, I think for a lot, because of the education way, it's like it never lets you to try to be yourself. Like I think the best way to grow up in China for what their logic is not be too stand out. Okay, you be one of them, one of the team. You need to learn teamwork. Then you know, very stand out. Then so you're okay. You live in a normal life. Then stand out could be something dangerous. You know,
are you an only child?
I'm the only child.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that something? I mean, some people have told me that it's desired to have a kid, like your son. You want a son rather than a daughter. Is that something that you've ever thought about, or have you heard that?
It is definitely in that, because we have the kid system that you're only allowed to have a one.
Right. So this was a policy called the one child policy, which currently isn't happening anymore. But when you were born, it was active. Yeah.
My generation, actually the first generation, started this policy.
Oh, really?
So because my parents follow that, get married later, they only have a one child. So in the factory, our family living in a better apartment. From the factory, because we follow this kind of
the guidelines, like the program that the government wants to enforce.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
so there's like a reward system.
Yes. So because you're following that, but I feel like I don't know. If you go to the countryside, you can see all the words on the wall. They print that saying like one child is better, you know.
Right. So I guess this would be called propaganda to try and enforce a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my friend Ryan has this theory. He came up with it, and I like to tell people, I find it super interesting. Ryan Nimmo, shout out. He thinks that kind of a whole generation of creatives were lost because of the one child policy. His feeling is that like a lot of, you know, so if you have one kid, you're kind of putting all your eggs in that basket to make sure that they're as best as they can be. Like you wouldn't maybe encourage them to be an artist because it's not as safe as a journey as being an accountant or, you know, just a very stable job. So he feels that like if there was, when you only have one kid, you're not going to encourage maybe that kid to be a creative, but if you had two, like one sure can be trying to push them down the route of a professional, you know, normal air quotes lifestyle, and then the other one can be maybe a creative. I find that just like interesting to think about if that could potentially be true, because this one child policy happened for so long. Do you know when were you born?
Early 80s.
Early 80s, and then it was they got rid of it maybe like only 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, not even 2-3 years ago. Yeah. I mean, like, it's very complicated to describe. And I always jealous of my friends' family who has like sisters or brothers. I was asking when I was really young. I was asking my mom, saying like, "Can I have an older brother?" My mom saying like, "It's too late." You know,
late.
that moment, I want an older brother.
I didn't even catch that when you said that. You said older brother.
That was definitely too late. I was really sad because
that's a really cute thing for a kid to ask. Mom, I want an older brother.
Yeah, because you can see like I think all the kids grow up with certain problems like bullies or something, right? You want someone can protect you, or you have certain power behind your back, and you know you grow up like more stronger, you know, with more support. But that moment, I really realized that I gonna do my journey by my own.
Well,
right?
I think that can make you a stronger person. Like if you realize that.
You have no choice. I think the only bad thing for me for this is like, good thing is that you have all attention from your family. You know, like they want to they want to take care of you, but also the bad thing, you got all attention from the family. You know, you want to sneak out, do some shit, no way. You know, like they look at you all the time. And also they hope you have, I can't say successful life, which is like, you know, just don't get too off. You know, always
stay on the straight and narrow. So I want to go back to your dad, because one of my questions is going to be like your inspiration and your first like moments with music. It sounded like your dad kind of gave you that, maybe your first experience with music.
A lot of time I think about my first experience. I always think about it. That was during that time, like middle 80s, like all the source of music was from TV and the radio, right? But we don't really have a lot like in China. So a lot of time like is really following what your parents likes. But it's interesting, it's like my parents in the factory, they have like ballroom. They dance in the ballroom, you know, like this is a weekend.
Yeah, I've seen videos.
Thing.
Like it's you know, company culture at factories is actually fascinating because they kind of act as families.
Yeah, it's because it is family, because all the people surround you, you're living together for about over 20 years. It really becomes a family. You know, you meet each other when you were young, then till one day your kids even get married, you know. So that's kind of how people, you know, get together. But I think I start to understand what is a romantic feeling when I was really young from the boring factory is when I see those young people, young parents dancing in the ballroom. Then my mom loves movie. So they have some like old tapes.
Okay.
Got from don't know where. So I think very early I was really obsessed about the Indian. The Indian dancing movie,
like
the
in Bollywood
music.
movies.
Yeah, Bollywood movies.
Just try and keep this a little closer to your mouth.
Oh, sorry. The very Bollywood movies, and that was kind of like an early thing.
That's cool. Yeah, you first mentioned. Sorry, hold on a second.
Right.
Sorry, guys. There was just someone at the door. All right, we're back. So we were talking about your first experience with music, and you mentioned what did you mention? You mentioned that like there wasn't that many options on TV and stuff like that. So one person told me, Archie Hamilton, that kind of like music was state owned in a sense, and at one point there was like no options. It's kind of like music was just to push a certain type of message. So I don't know if you know anything about this, but I found this super interesting.
They have a few types. They have different types of music. In that, I understand what Archie's mean is about. There's a music for like the army, government music. That type of music, but it's still popular. It's still popular in that generation.
So there was other types of music. It's not completely true that there was like only 8 songs or something like that.
No, there's still a lot of because I grew up in the generation, so I know there's definitely different type of music and also great, but just the source is very limited. It's not like you have a TV, then you have many channels. It's not like you have a radio show, you have many like the pirate stations or something like. It's just like limited.
Right. Well, back then, I mean, there's only even like TV or radio anyways. It's not like you had the internet or.
Yeah, it's also like, for example, like from where you grew up, you probably have like vinyls, you know, cassettes, tapes or something.
Yeah, for sure. There was like the evolution, vinyl, cassette, CD, MP3, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember did you ever get CDs like while you were in high school or cassette tapes or?
I think that's things changes when I was about a middle school and high school. Then I start to, because I really love music, so it's just like, you know, kids, right? You love something, like you turn into a small group and people know someone, then can link you to someone who knows more music. So I start to knowing people who in a bigger city who run a storage, which is have a lot of recycling cassettes and CDs. So during the weekend, I'll travel to those cities, save all the money, travel to this bigger city, just diving into the small room with tons of boxes.
Wow.
Try to dig in with the recycling cassettes and CDs. I think that's the proper musical education for me, from all the like basically trash.
Wow.
We learn things from the trash, basically.
That's too crazy. You're like digging through what's kind of only what's available to you. Do you remember any artists, like your first favorite group, like in genre and band name?
I into a lot of like blues stuff, you know, like also still like the very beginning CD artists I discovered, like Bjork, Tricky, that kind of thing, is still inspired me till now, you know. So I think that's why I'm saying like this is my proper education about music. I start to learn, I start to know what is rock, you know, and what is electronic music, what blues sounds like, you know, soul, that heavy metal. Then I start to realize that all the apart from the kind of army red song China or the pop music from Hong Kong, Taiwan, then there's this giant ocean of different type of music.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, there's just so much stuff out there to explore, and that's the crazy thing about music. It's like already when you were born, there was an ocean of music that it's like impossible to listen to all of it. And then every day there's even more music coming out. So it's just like, it's a never ending thing of what there is to explore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's pretty wild to think about. Something I just thought of was, so for example, like Guamu, he was a previous guest, and like skateboarding is what he loves, and that's what kind of drove him to learn English. What was your process like for learning English? Was it through school, or maybe music drove you to learn it, or?
I never feel like English was so important to connecting with the world till I moved to Shanghai.
Okay.
I was actually studying international training when I was in Beijing in the college, but that didn't take in a massive part of my life. But when I moved to Shanghai, at the same time, I need to find a nice job. Then because Shanghai is international city, that the situation is you facing to all the people come from everywhere.
Right.
Then if you can have another language, then it really helps you to finding, you know, better work or higher pay work.
Right.
So then to that moment, I think, oh shit, and I have to invest in myself to spend some time to learn English.
Definitely. Well, that definitely easily moves into my topic, is like the decision to move to Shanghai. What was the reason why you ended up, did you move from Guizhou to Shanghai?
No, I was finishing my like high school in Guizhou. Then I had my college in Beijing. But main reason I want to go to Beijing because I already had my rock band when I was in high school in Guizhou. Then Beijing was the rock center. Still now, during that moment, I just want to go to experience it.
Interesting.
So, but when I got in Beijing, I was there like a study in the college, also work in a company. Then I start to get bored of rock. Yeah, then
Tell me about the band in high school. I didn't realize you had started even doing music in high school.
I met a bunch of kids with digging the recycling trash CDs.
And were you recording music, or were you like performing, or?
We're performing too, but in bars, you know. But most of the time it's
Did you
like
guys have a name?
cover music.
Oh, just like covering band. Okay, that's cool.
We have a name. It's really silly. I don't even want to mention that, but it's just like those kind of thing.
Early days.
Early days. But yeah, so basically through those my band members, I met some like very interesting Chinese local rock, Chinese rock and Chinese rock and roll. Then I start to know more about what the kind of like underground music from China now. Then I think also during that time, my early 20s, middle 90s, that's the also golden time of the rock and roll in China too. You know, there's so many amazing rock bands and musicians in that moment. So I think I want to be part of this golden era.
That's amazing that you like went to Beijing and just did it.
Yeah, I have no choice because I cannot quit. I was just only high school. I can't just quit in my college. I just do nothing, you know. I have to do something. So I try really hard, try to make to the college in Beijing.
Right.
So I did it. So
what did you study in Beijing?
International training.
International trade, right? You said, So did you like look at that as a backup, or did you kind of like always feel deep in your heart that music had to be the end game at some point? Or because like if you're going to college, you kind of must feel that there is like a fallback plan in a sense.
Yeah, I definitely didn't take my college very seriously. I didn't even know much about my classmate. I didn't spend much time. I basically just do what I have to do, just get graduated.
Just
and most
graduate,
of the time, I'm hanging out and making friends from the music scene.
Yeah, for me, quite similar, actually. I mean, I took it serious enough that I learned and I studied and I feel like I got a proper education, but I do feel I could have tried so much harder. I think that social life was quite important to me in college, and maybe a little too important. But I guess you had a different game plan though. You were really trying to fulfill like a different career, like a plan to be a musician.
Yeah, because if not, I know before I go to college, I have a 1 year break. I can choose. So my parents during that moment not supporting me at all, saying like, come on, you're during that moment and you want to sing in the bar to be a musician or singer, is kind of out there imagination. It's only not decent girl doing, you know, you're in the bar, what kind of people working there as a girl. So they don't support me at all. So only thing can make them support me is I get a good college or I go to the work that they want me to.
Right.
So I made a decision like I have my own thoughts all the time. I fight back. You know, if you push me doing something, if I don't really feel that, I fight back. But I'm also a kind of person sensible. You know, I don't fight back with no reason.
Yeah, you have sense. Yeah.
So when my parents asked me to go back to work, you know, because you can choose, you don't go to college or just go to the factory work or something. I did 1 year. Then I proved I worked really hard. Then I don't like it.
At the factory?
Yeah.
Oh, which factory was this?
Just like back to my hometown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a factory, but it's in
what
the
kind
system.
of work would you
it's
do?
Like more like secretary or something like that
administrative
in the office.
Stuff.
Yeah,
okay,
in the
paperwork
office.
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, like I can do that, but I convinced
Well, of course
them.
you can do that. I think almost everyone in the world is like able to do that, to just get by. And that's what's kind of interesting actually about China is that, you know, if those jobs are available, That's actually like a pretty good thing. I think right now in America, there's a lot of people, fighting to even have their factory jobs right now. A lot of people are, and that's, I don't want to go into like why Trump was elected, but like, I think that is a big reason why is a lot of people are losing their jobs and they don't have the ability just to have not everyone even is chasing their dreams. Some people just want stability, and when that's taken away, it's a seriously dangerous thing. And I mean, anyways, what I think is, if that's what China provides for as many people as possible, like over 95% of the population, that's a cool thing. Anyways, so you decided factory work. I'm not going to do this. Like it's too mundane. It's too boring. Like you can't live like this.
I just don't want to live in like a copy machine. You do things for a couple of days, you already can see after 20 years, nothing.
Right.
Really
it's not fulfilling.
changed.
There's no purpose to it for you.
Right. Why I'm spending my lifetime doing this shit that anyone else can replace me. What's the point? Right. They don't need me. They just need people who comfortable with this, but I don't feel comfortable with that.
Right.
And I'll convince my parents, like, look, you spend money and time raise your kid, and you used to be cool, but in your generation, you don't have a lot of options to choose what your life want to be, who you want to be, but you still try to be cool, right? You still try to spend time, your energy to work on things that you like, but come on. I think that's the dilemma that a lot of parents face is like they're trying to look out for your best interest by saying like, go work at the factory, choose the safe thing. Like you're just going to have your hopes crushed. And unfortunately, maybe they're only saying that because they had their hopes crushed. And they only don't want to see you. They're doing it for the right reasons. Right. They're not telling you don't chase your dreams because we want you to have a boring life. They might be saying don't chase your dreams because we know the pain and the heartache that comes with failure, and they're trying to protect you. But what's interesting, at the end of the day, everyone is their own person. Like, and we listen to our parents as if like they're so connected to us, and you should like be connected with your parents and take their advice when you can. But when it really comes down to it, everyone is just one person, and you have to follow your heart for what you want to do. I think it's very interesting because as a kid, you always think like your parents is something higher.
Yeah.
When you're really young, it's like a God that kind of exists, but actually, when you think about like you're all just like a person. You the first time be a kid, their first time be parent. Then they don't even know how to be parent. They don't even know how to raise a kid. So there's a kind of like battle between, you and your parents. So I always feel like education, the family education is not only one way, one side. It's also about how you give back to your parents. So we're both growing together. This is how I feel about the family thing, like, because you're not just a toy. You're learning, you're growing, you're in touch with the world, a lot of part that your parents don't know. You get input of a lot of things, informations your parents don't know. But this also your responsibility to export those with your parents, to share with your parents. Then you'll be able to understand each other. So make fine decision for good for both of you.
Yeah.
So I think this is the way I think about. It's really weird because a lot of people don't think in that way. Because I know my parents been really harsh to me, but I always feel like I doubt about things, the things they're telling me, like, but I understand, but I have to try because we're different. Okay, situations are different, problems are different, the way solve problem pop different, the result might different. So you should let me to try. Then, this is like, I just thinking like if you don't let your kid to go experience everything, then everybody just exactly the same and being really safe. That's such a boring word.
Yeah, and you might even resent your parents for not like letting you take the chance to fail.
Yeah.
Like if they're gonna just, make you safe for the rest of your life, it's not gonna be a fulfilling journey for both of them.
Yeah. So I think they understand that because that we open with the communication. They know I'm a very strong kid. It's like it's not easy to convince. Then I have to do things that I think is right. So it doesn't matter they beat me up or something like I'm not just gonna fold to their way. So they understand that. So since that we start to have open conversation, then I think I think that kind of communication changed our family vibe. So they know the respect is come from each side.
Yeah.
It's not only come from their order.
Mm.
Right. It's not only because I follow the order, I be a good kid. Then because I'm just like, for example, see your friends' family. See, there's so many things happening around you. You can tell who's happy, who's not. Why you love people. What is about love. Your family is about you care if they're happy or not. Even friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell who's your real friends, who's your real family. They don't care about how you do things, why you do things. They only care about are you happy?
Yeah.
Right. I think, yeah.
I think for me, communication was something I was never really good at with my family. Only up until halfway or towards the end of college did I really feel like I could communicate with my parents. And I think that was because I always was looked at as just a kid. And I always, maybe even if they didn't see, like they may have seen me grow year after year, but for some reason I always felt like, oh, I'm still just a kid to them. Like, what's the point in even trying to really communicate until you feel like you're an equal? And I think halfway through college or towards the end, I grew up more as a person. And when I was able to communicate better, did I really start to form a better relationship with my family and my parents, and are more meaningful, I guess, like beyond just that, like such a basic thing, like that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my brother.
Yeah.
It for me, at least, it took a while to grow up and gain the confidence, or I don't know if that's the right word, but develop a more meaningful dialogue between my family. And what I'm getting from you is maybe you had that from a younger age, maybe like you kind of just like it clicked a little better for you, and you were able to kind of, and I guess it's like a fine line between being respectful and also sharing your opinion.
Yeah. I don't even know how was a clear line of that. I just realized in certain moments, like your parents become to normal people because they do some shit like really stupid, or your teacher say something shit.
Like you see what's human about them.
Yeah.
At one point, because like I liked how you said like they look like gods like when you're really young. Like, and that I felt the same way for I think a long time. It's just like they are so strong and powerful people. Like they hold all the power. Like then
you think they never did things wrong. Then till the moment they fucked up things, or your teacher say shit to you, say like, what that.
Yeah.
Wait a moment. And to that moment, you start thinking, maybe we're all the same.
Yeah. Human. I think human is the best way to put it, to realize like everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has flaws. Like, and that can be a very powerful thing to understand, because like you can go into a business meeting with someone and realize like, I don't care if you're in this suit and you have this like $50,000 watch and you drive a Maserati. Like I know you're like just as naked as I am if we both don't have any clothes on. Like we're both just human underneath all the nonsense that's around us.
That's great mindset, right?
I think I said that very eloquently right now, and I would love to embody that mindset. It's not that easy to do, but if you can, it's very powerful. If you could do that, yeah. All right. So we haven't even gotten into Shanghai yet.
All right.
We're like an hour in, and we have to talk about Shanghai.
Right.
So because that's even like, I'm really happy with the conversation we've had so far. I've learned a lot about you, and I guess now kind of move into what I know you a little bit more for is your life in Shanghai, your entertainment career as a musician and artist. So what was that like, moving to Shanghai? Like, did you know anyone? What was the experience like?
Like I said, I moved to Shanghai from Beijing because I get bored with the rock. Then is not because rock is boring. Is because during that moment I already into electronic music. Then, but in Beijing, everybody's so hype about rock, because nobody really doing electronic music. Then I feel like I'm really lonely. I can't really talk to anyone, and it's nothing to share, and I can't get information from people. Then I was just asking around, like I don't even know that was electronic music, like Bjork and Tricky, something like that. Like, I would just like give them two lessons, like, okay, this type of music, I know it's not rock and roll, okay? So I want this type of music, where I can go. Then they say maybe Guangzhou, maybe Shanghai. I don't really feel Guangzhou. I don't know why. It's just like, I don't know why. I still don't know why now. But Shanghai, I've seen like interesting, another bigger city, can be a new adventure. Why not? I know nobody there. I know 0 people in Shanghai. That excites me more, actually.
Right. So you actually fed off of this challenge of like not knowing anyone.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. For me, that's scary. I'm terrified.
It's still terrified though, think about that. But
yeah, for me, like I moved to Shanghai because I had a job offer. Everything was set up, lined up. Like I have friends that are already here. I guess I like to be in a comfortable situation.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So you just jump over here and...
I think it's different. If you ask me to go have a job in Long Island or LA, I have no visa, no work settled, it's just a floating there, I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
But Shanghai, come on, you don't need a visa.
Right.
You know, you definitely won't die. You can find a job easy, even just basic jobs. It's okay. You're still young. Just like try whatever. Right?
Well, you're brave. I'd still say you're brave.
Thank you.
I'd still say you're brave. And that was cool that you mentioned, like, okay, so you're getting into electronic music at this point. I think that's an important part of the story because, you know, as much as like talent and skill drives the reason why someone is successful, I think timing is also very important as well. And electronic music was globally, I think, becoming a bigger thing, maybe like late 2000s, you know, 2007, 2006 into 2010, you know, it's kind of blowing up as like a bigger thing internationally. So for you to get in it at the right moment helps a lot. Would you agree that it was like becoming a bigger thing at that time, or?
I don't know, because I'm not doing mainstream thing, right? I'm doing the very underground kind of subculture thing. So I never feel like my time's coming. Like I always feel like,
yeah.
you know, it's like,
For me, it was like, that's when I was introduced to dubstep and like very kind of more party electronic music. And maybe that's like the mainstream version of electronic music is what I was, you know, what was around me in late high school and early college. So yeah, what was it like to start to find, you know, venues to perform at, you know, meeting people in Shanghai, that kind of stuff?
That's why I think meeting people really interesting, and people are fun, and you know, you never know who knows who, you know. That's how people
It's a small world. It can be to your advantage and disadvantage. How small the world is.
Yeah, so when I just moved to Shanghai, because I was like finishing the college and also working in a company, really hard saving money, because I already have my plan. I'm leaving the Beijing, going to Shanghai. I know nobody. I'm probably not going to find a job for a while, so I saved the money. Then that's the thing. The first time I moved to Shanghai, I find a place to settle by myself. Then I used the money, bought my first computer ever.
Oh,
I don't really have computer till I was like very late 20s.
Okay.
Then why I'm using that, because I know like if I don't know people, the internet is really could help. So I use the computer, get online to go to find a musical forum during that time, which is a lot like producers and even promoters was in the forum. So I start to apply for a workshop, which is like Ableton Live verse 1 having workshop in Shanghai in a hip hop lab studio, which is the one of the manager who runs the shelter in a few years later. So this is the how things getting interesting.
Oh.
So I went to the workshop. That was B6, one of the very well known techno producer from Shanghai, was having an introduction about Ableton Live to introduce to people. The organizer who organizing this called Jen Siesta, who is the queen of the drum and bass promoter and DJ from the underground scene from Hong Kong, but in Shanghai for many years.
Okay.
But I didn't know that at all during that moment. I was just in there. I was like floating, and my mind was in the cloud. I have no idea what Ableton Live is, what they do, what is this and that. I just feel like, wow.
Say it again. Ableton Live.
Ableton Live. That's the software you produce music.
Oh, it's a software.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the company doing the workshop in there to promote their software. But
Right,
I have no idea. I don't even use that.
You're so new to even this computer, I guess.
Yeah, I do use some like very different software during a moment, but I don't know that. But I just really happy to feel okay. There's definitely a scene for the music I like. So then I start to go to a live house called Yuyintang. But the very early version of Yuyintang was really far from the center in Longcaolu.
No, I don't even know.
They only there for about a year or something, from 2005 just to 2006. But I was luckily there for very early days. So I was watching a live show there. I'm a big fan of the band. Then I went there by myself. Then I met a group of people from Europe, from Vienna, and from Germany.
Okay.
Then they are huge reggae fan.
Oh, this was something I wanted to ask you about too.
They're huge reggae fans, so we become really close friends because like we share a lot of music we like. But during that moment, I don't know much about a reggae, but they give me a really good reggae cassettes and CDs and I was really chilled in their house, and I was like, man, this is amazing. I'm wondering if anywhere we can go for this kind of music in Shanghai. Then boom, we have a Tanghui, which is like early version of Logo Club in Shanghai. Then there's some of like musicians from different country, DJs, and they're hanging out sometimes through a party, play music. Then I getting to know people who organizing reggae parties in there. Then because of them, I know the people who organized the reggae sound system, then who also running the shelter in the beginning days. So that's how the thing goes.
Yeah. So as you said, just kind of like small world, like so many connections just happened quite quickly.
Yeah. But during that moment, like 2005 or 6, like in Shanghai, you hard to find a place to do your own events because the clubs they have their own rules and doing their own music. That the audience like there's none things about underground cultures.
Right. So that was my question was going to be is like, it doesn't sound like the underground culture is really developed yet. Like it's starting to develop in 2005.
It's like, I think that moment just a lot of people planting seeds.
Planting seeds. Yeah. Like it's like almost being born.
Yeah. You don't even, the owners in the club or live or the bar don't even know what DJ does. It's just play music, or they don't even have DJ equipment everywhere.
So what are the clubs like then?
It's just like normal. Like
just like music being played, almost just like a playlist and kind of like just hanging out.
Yeah, then people just hanging out, drinking, you know, like it's not about music. But the stuff that we bring in is about music, right? We're introducing music. It's not introducing the drinking culture. So it's very different. So people will gathering the money together to buy equipment. Then we tour with the equipment. We have to convince the owner of the bar or something to let us do events there, then bring people. Then little by little, they start to feel, man, this is really cool. Then
Right.
they bring people, then cool kids, and they will sell drinks, and why not? Then little by little,
It's like you're educating the people on what is cool.
Yeah. I'm still not the very first generation who involved in this. There was already like the Michael from America, San Francisco, Michael Ozone, DJ Ozone, who's running Dada for many years in the later times.
Was Dada has been around for a long time?
Yeah.
Like before 2005 or?
No. That was 2008. 8 or 9 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, but my impression is, there's been a lot of clubs like Mint or, kind of like Chinese style clubs from the early 2000s even, but then these more like underground bars kind of started to pop up in the late 2010s.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd agree or...
I mean, like the Mint or M2 or Muse or whatever is never our word.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's too mainstream. It's too just like loud and branded in a sense.
The most of the time is like the other people or like Michael who running the Dada. It was not bar owner. He's a music lover, DJ, and a promoter. He's finding the location, the venue to do events, to gathering people together. So this is also how the very first group of people, promoters, getting together. Then even in the future, working with the shelter. So this is the how, because it's such a small thing. We probably have like 20 people, 30 people for a party, but everybody had a great time.
Right. I think that's the biggest difference is like a club like Mint or M2 is not about the culture. It's about maybe just like making money off of whatever is hot, whatever hot music, pop music, that's what they play, whatever is going to get people in the door at that moment. But maybe the underground scene is like, we're not going to play the pop music or whatever is hot. We're kind of attracting only what we like. And that's maybe the difference.
Club culture is never our culture. It's not our culture. You can see people drinking in the club, but mainly Chinese people drinking on the dining table. Right. So after that, we go karaoke.
Right.
We don't really do clubbing thing, right? So we just want to get together to drink. We go karaoke or we go barbecue later. Clubbing thing is very like, it's not our culture. So it's already very hard. Also you want to let people know there's a music focusing event to introduce you. Like all the clubbing music, it doesn't matter. Even like funk, soul, R&B, all the people like we like as underground people, it's not our music. It's from Western cultures. So this is a lot of things and you need to digest, adapting to your own thing. So you will take extra time. You're understanding what is this, understanding what this culture is, and understanding how people doing this. It takes longer time.
When you say it's not our culture, do you mean it's not our culture as in like China, or what do you mean?
China, even Asia, but
okay, so you're talking about the country like China.
Yeah, that luckily Japan was more open more earlier, right? Then they have a longer history connecting with those kind of music. So you can tell that the level between those two countries is quite different. So it has a reason. China has the years with close up with certain kind of revolution thing, and it's open only since like end of 70s, beginning of 80s till now is what, about 30, 40 years or something like that. It's short time.
Yeah, they're still trying to identify who they are.
Yeah, but think about the culture from you, like from America, like if we're same generation, but considering what your parents listening, what your grandparents listening, this is a very different thing. The same thing you give to my parents, you don't understand what it is. So we're actually first generation people to start to plant the seeds.
Yeah.
Then we're growing for longer time than we expected. So, there's a difference.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that you're like learning about who you are in this new world of Shanghai and like developing a new scene in a sense. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of move on to collaboration with other artists and the process to collaborate. Like, I guess it makes so much sense. You love talking to people. We've covered that. You love connecting with people. And I think what was really cool is your collaboration with Ranking Joe.
Ranking Joe.
Yeah. So tell the story about how that happened.
It's still the same. Like I said, I met people, the Upper Sunshine group, which I've been part of, the reggae group.
Mm-hmm.
We've been promoting parties and reggae parties in town. Then we be able to connecting with the legendary producer from Jamaican Studio One. You know, then been working with Studio One, then who had been part of the family called VP Records. I've been in the reggae industry for over like 50 years. Then the legendary Clive Chin. Then we booked him come to tour in China. Then he loved it because he was I think he's quarter of the blood of Chinese. Then he kind of felt like in his 60 years old age still come back to China to find his own roots.
Wow.
That's really amazing for him. So it made a really great connection. And he's working with Ranking Joe a lot. Then he said, okay, I have some early like materials from the Studio One, old recordings, and I'm considering a female Chinese vocal with Ranking Joe. Maybe we can do something cool. So that's how things happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think collaboration is such an important part of creation.
For sure.
Like for when you're just creating something on your own, it's kind of like you're your own brand, and no matter how many times you create something new, it's going to be quite similar. Like whenever you create something, it's going to be like the brand of who you are. But then when you collaborate with someone and you're mixing two genres of a person, it's creating something truly original. So it kind of leads into my thought. There was this podcast from NPR, TED Hour, and the name is What is Original? And the whole podcast is kind of like trying to break down what does it mean for something to be original. And I highly recommend everyone listening to go listen to this podcast. It's fascinating. And they basically get this guy who created the song La Di Da Di, We Like to Party, which is like a hip hop song. And what they're saying is every single hip hop song kind of stems from this first thing that was created by someone. So what they're saying is like potentially nothing is original because it was all created from just like this one thing. So what I want to talk to you about is like, what does it mean for something to be original to you and your process of creation?
Nowadays, we talk about original. A lot of people thinking, oh, that's something completely come out from you purely, right? But think about where we are and what surround us. You're surrounded by all the informations constantly every day pushing to your mind. Then also surrounded by people who are so inspiring. You know, as artists or musician, you're not from nowhere.
Exactly.
We're all inspired by something, someone. So anything come out from your mind is not only produced with on your own nerves.
Whether it's subconscious or meaning like you didn't do it on purpose, it's just like in your brain, or you did it on purpose, like you're taking something from somewhere. Right. You're gonna be inspired by things. So you can't say it's like 100% original. But at a certain point, you gotta like cut semantics, cut all like the wording bullshit, and be like, it was original for the right reasons, in a sense.
That means that's also important is what you think original is. The original is something created completely by you purely, or is something has your own mark on it. You know, that's talk about the music or the art. I can't see someone's doing very unique, like you're the only one doing this type of music in the whole planet. I don't believe in that. We're doing similar things, but we put our own marks in it that make your thing very unique and make you sing you. But But at that, because of you, a unique person, so you can make unique piece of art because the art is a mirror, is a reflection of who you are.
Yeah, it's just about making it unique rather than original is maybe a good way to look at it, because something like that I like about hip hop is a lot of it comes from sampling. So you're kind of taking what other people have done and putting a new twist on it. So, I mean, like in a world where trying to be original, or I guess unique is another word to use, it's some people find so much value in being original. But when you're taking samples from other artists, like, I don't know, I just think it's interesting to decide what it means to be original.
I mean, sampling is just only one way to making music. It's not like all about sampling. Even in the hip hop world, sampling is not about everything.
Okay.
But sampling is kind of a message to speak to people who you are and what you're into, what type of thing.
Right.
You know, what type of groove you tag in. That's kind of like sending your message, but still it's not everything about hip hop.
Yeah, so I guess it breaks down to intention, like your intention of why you chose to sample that one thing. Like it can be you're saying something without even saying it yourself. You're allowing that person who's already said it, and you feel like you can't say it better, so you're going to take from them, and not in a stealing way. You're not stealing from them. You're almost honoring them by reusing what they have.
Yeah, because it's very tricky. Nowadays, it's still very hard to say there's a clear line to what is sampling, what is stealing.
Yes, that's what I want to get at.
Really
it's like it's hard. Sometimes you don't know whether you're stealing or sampling. Like it's very subjective. Some people might think you're stealing, and other people are like, no, that's fine, just sampling. Yeah. So I guess, have you ever had any difficulty with your career on deciding like what the line is?
The thing is, I do sample, but I don't sample from the records. I don't sample the music that I already made and released.
Okay.
I do sample sound surround me. So I think about sampling in very different way. I sampling the sound, like for me the whole word is about frequency, about sound. If you pay attention, everything make noise, make sound.
Yeah.
So if you want to make music with that, everything surround you is an instrument. So I don't have to sample the music that already released in the world. I can create something which is surround you. I'm already making sound, but nobody even realized that.
That's pretty insightful, pretty inspiring. Yeah. There's this one quote that I think it's Da Vinci. A lot of people credit Steve Jobs from Apple saying this, but apparently I think Da Vinci, and maybe even Da Vinci, stole it from someone else. It's funny though, because the quote is, good artists copy, great artists steal. Does that make you think about anything? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe it's a language culture, is something behind that.
Yeah.
But for me, from the just word by word, I don't really feel that.
Yeah, for me,
now.
like good artists copy, like it's saying that if you're copying, like that's not actually a good, like you're not taking the true essence of what you're trying to speak. But when you steal, in a sense, it's like you're such a great artist that you could steal and get away with it. So it's almost like, yeah, I'm not too, like, because Steve Jobs was just like such an influential person to his industry of creating, like, the iPod and stuff like that.
I think I get that. For me, the understanding is the how to say the great artist stealing, which means depends on how you think what is great artist. The great artist is great on creating things and deliver your own thing, or play good game in the industry.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, it could totally depend.
Right.
Could totally depends.
Right. If you think that's a great artist can stealing things and get away from that, you're just smart kid. Good at playing games.
Yeah, good at playing games, maybe.
I don't even know if it's it means that you I'm a very crazy creation.
Who knows?
No.
You were the first ever Chinese artist to be selected for annual Red Bull Music Academy.
Right.
Was that a special moment for you?
Definitely. It changed my life.
Tell people the story, because I actually don't know. I only know is that headline.
I know it's I know some great musicians I like come from RBMA. Like Flying Lotus, that kind of people, like, so I know that will be a great opportunity to learn things, but I also know it's a free project, right? They pay for everything for 2 weeks. Then you go
so tell
learn.
people about the Red Bull Music Academy.
It's finished now, unfortunately, from this year. It's been after 20 years.
So what was the project?
The project was they open application online. So all the people who love music to the musicians or people who working for the music, you all can apply online. It's free download application. They have about 40 or 50 questions to study about who you are, what you do. Then if you got selecting, they only select about 60 people every year, split to 2 terms. Each term is 30 people. Each term has like 2 weeks. You basically it's an academy. They build for that. Then they have 24/7 radio shows nonstop. They have a kitchen, they have where you stay, they have a studio, they have a lecture room. They book the most amazing lecture come to share with their experience, then throw out craziest party in the world for nonstop 12 days.
That's crazy.
So that's what I've been through.
Wow. Sounds like a super special thing. And you were interacting with other artists at the same time, or like through this program. Did you meet anyone that was like became friends or that you were inspired by? Like, was that an important part of the experience, interacting with other artists?
It is really important for me because I think I'm lucky to be part of that, because I know some people later years that they already like great musicians that have a successful career. They just interested in the experience, then participated with that. They don't feel that's fascinating because they already been through many shit. But for me, that was like 2011. It was just like very beginning of my own music career. I know nothing about the whole world of the music. So I would just start to diving into the big ocean. Then that inspired me so much. I think the most important thing is I realize that you're with another 29 people there from all over the world. The skill wise and the very different. Someone's really good, someone in the beginning, but they have very opened up mind. And I start to realize like music is no right way to make. Everyone have their own way to create. I think that's the most inspiring part for me to making music. Is no matter where and what you start with, and there is no certain rule you have to follow.
Yeah. I think it's very liberating, and there's a lot of freedom that comes with like a blank open canvas. Like do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong.
Exactly. Then if the sound or the way makes sense for you, then that makes sense.
That's all that matters, whether it makes sense for you.
Exactly. So I think from that point, I really had a taste of what the freedom of creation is.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important for me for the very early.
That's awesome.
Days.
That's awesome. So one thing I want to talk about somehow, and I know it's difficult to talk about, is just like how special the music scene is in Shanghai. For example, some of these venues like Shelter and Arkham and any of the other venues. Because like my good friend Charlie, for him, it's super special. And J-Mart as well, like these friends who are here from the late 2000s and then like throughout the decade of 2010, Shelter and Arkham and these underground venues were just like such a special place for them. And I caught only the last year that Shelter was around, and Arkham I only went to every now and then. So maybe if you want to share just like your feelings on the friends and like why maybe that was a special place.
we had talked about this before
Yeah.
we started recording. I think it's still the same. It's really difficult for me to describe
Mm.
what it's like and how it feel to people who never experienced it,
Mm-hmm.
because that decade, 10 years, is also a very unique time in Shanghai or even in China for this type of music, for this type of even lifestyle.
Mm.
So I can't describe with the details and how I feel, but I think that moment is we start something new in this country,
Yeah.
and we plant the seeds.
Exactly. I don't think because telling a story wouldn't justify the feeling that you get from being there. I think saying what you just said, which is that it was like the beginning of something. It was a completely fresh era. And it's kind of like the experience of going through something new, developing a new scene, meeting people through these underground clubs. And I mean, the one thing that you can say though is like something unique about Shelter specifically was it was built in like an underground bunker.
Yeah.
So that's very unique that I guess you can share with people. That was super cool. Like I didn't even know that the underground bunker was literally a place it was like a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
These are all over Shanghai, and then people would turn these into clubs. So they were kind of repurposing them, which was like a very special feeling to be under there. And yeah, like I wish maybe I can probably find some video and I can put it in the blog post. Like I make a blog post with this episode and can share what people could have seen. But yeah, it was cool.
So that shelter really means shelter. One thing, because it's a bomb shelter. It's real bomb
Truly
shelter.
is a bomb shelter.
And also another part of meaning is because during the early times, we're a very small group of people who into this type of a lifestyle, I call it, and fragile. Because
Right.
we need this kind of place to protect us and to get together, to find the strength and the power to
Right.
keep going. So the shelter really means something for us during that moment. It's very special.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Shelter is missed a lot by the community these days. And there's a totally whole new group of kids growing and learning about like what the underground music scene means to them. Do you stay in touch with what's going on today?
Yeah, still. Yeah. I used to like I used to be MC, like club MC since the day one, before even Shelter, then doing the Shelter for 9 years. Then after that, I kind of out of the nightlife scene because I'm finding my own like musical direction, which is not only stuck in the nightclubs, but I still like a lot of my friends are promoters and DJs, and even the runner, the manager or people who run the or other places. So we still talk about that. So I'm not very much in the scene, but I'm still
Yeah, still staying in touch.
So,
Still staying in touch. That's awesome. As we start to wrap up the show, I have a question from Benoit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, from Benoit. He told me that your first English name is Monica. and Benoit wants to know the transition from Monica to Cha-Cha.
Oh man, that's a true. This is gonna be your true friend. Then you know all the shit behind the people that which you don't want people to know.
Too late, buddy.
Thank you, Benoit. Fuck you. Right. So I don't know. I can't even tell. Monica was the time. I don't know much about music.
Oh.
I don't even know much about the word. Why I named myself Monica, because I was really loved R&B music. It was the singer called Monica.
Okay.
I want to sing like that boy was mine. So that kind of like R&B, that kind of during that moment, that was kind of the goal. I want that kind of singer. Can sing R&B, make sick harmonies. Then after that, I started realize and I want a more unique sound.
Okay.
But the journey to find the truly you and find a unique you is never an easy way. and you have lots of turns. You meet so many people. You try many things, and of course you failed. Then till now, I still cannot say I'm in a comfortable position to being myself. I think being an artist or singer are probably better. You don't feel comfortable, you know?
Well, yeah, I guess you're always kind of staying on your toes and being aware that this shit isn't forever and you got to be relevant and you got to like work hard every day, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, like, to think about the things you love in your life, it doesn't matter the person or the thing you do, is always mixed with extreme hate and love, passion, and depressed. I think it makes all the extreme feelings together that make the thing very different. So I think I'm still, after more than 15 years I'm in journey, I'm still fighting for that. I'm still feeling struggle. I'm still learning things. I'm still a lot of time feel I'm like a newborn baby and know nothing about the thing what I do. But I think sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah. As we talk about your like even your transition from Monica to Cha-Cha, and now we have like you've made a decision to move from Cha-Cha to
Yehayahan.
Yehayahan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that. What inspired that?
In the beginning, Cha-Cha was just like I said, I met people from the live house and introduced me to the reggae party. Then how I start my career was I get really drunk. Then I go say, hey, can I have your mic? Then I was freestyle with the mic in the night, and people loved it.
Yeah.
Then they asked me, do you want to join our group? I said, well, yeah, why not? So that's everything start in Shanghai. Then what's your name? I'm Cha-Cha. So I never think about make an artist name or something. I just go with that for about 10 years. Until one day I think, okay, I did many releases and I work with some really decent artists and I travel the world, and should I take myself more seriously? Give myself a proper name, which is not like million Cha-Chas online, because that already give me a problem with the copyright situation.
Okay.
That's the main reason.
That's a big reason.
That's the main reason. I don't mind people call me Cha-Cha. I don't mind call myself Cha-Cha. I'm very comfortable and people know me because of name and what Cha-Cha does.
Yeah.
But I can have clear copyright things with the paperwork is pain in the ass, and I just have to have a unique name.
That makes total sense.
Right.
And it's kind of cool to, I mean, like, whether it's for that reason or another, like, as a person, you're always changing, which you kind of talked about. Like you said, you feel like a newborn baby, and it's kind of a good opportunity to take a moment and refresh yourself, like whether that's changing your name or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So I think one more final question as we wrap up, like, do you look at the past and see something that doesn't exist anymore? Like there's Shelter in Arkham, the Shanghai scene. Do you feel like that the world has changed and it's something you miss, or it's just something that has happened and it's past?
Anything I've been experienced in my life, I don't regret. Something that happened during the time with people that meant to be happen. But everything changed. That's how the world goes, how life goes, and nothing stays forever. For a human being, you just have to learn to go with that, then to, somehow to transfer this kind of thing into another form.
Right.
I think a lot of things happening during that time, then you might think it's disappeared now, but I think it transformed to another form. It still exists in different way, inside of you or in a different kind of way. So we just have to, in a better understanding how things come and goes.
Definitely. I think that's super powerful and important to remember. It hasn't like changed and completely gone, but maybe it's transformed into something new.
For sure. I believe in that.
Yeah. And it's something new that we can come to learn and accept and kind of have a better experience, because you can only live something for so long. Like it becomes boring after a while if that's the same thing over and over. Like you have to give a chance for change. I think.
And then you can't stuck in things that lost
Mm.
already.
Yeah.
You have to always appreciate all the things that lost, what they've been giving to you to make you who you are now. To appreciate that, then you can keep going. If you stuck in the things, keep losing, then you're gonna be a miserable, depressed person. But you have to see things that in the bright future to appreciate those things and turn it to something else in the future waiting for you, you know. So that, I don't know, that's my mind to keep me in positive way.
To stay positive, try and look at things in the right light.
Yeah.
Well, Cha-Cha, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a true pleasure. Where can people stay in touch with you if they want to follow you on Instagram maybe? Or
My name, my artist, they still can call me Cha-Cha, but my artist name Yehai is YEHAI. YAHAN. Yahan. So you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Twitter, everywhere.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex, for having me.
All right.
That was a great conversation.
Yeah. I have to give a shout out to Charlie Lanceplane
and Benoit.
Yeah, Benoit. All right. Peace, guys.
Peace.
Boom. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this podcast valuable, there are many ways you can support it. You can rate and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, or discuss it on your own podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to this channel and like the video. Or you can support it directly. You can do this by going to my website. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats at soundcloud.com/estoric. ESTORIC. Okay, that's it for now. Peace.